Hi, everyone. Welcome to another just quick lecture. What I wanted to do today is give you a reminder of a couple important things as we head into really our last full week of the course. I really enjoyed you all being in this course and wish that I could have met you personally for most of you. Some of you I have known from past classes. Um, this is the one drawback of the online course is not being able to meet or see you all in person. So yeah, what I want to do, a couple of quick reminders. Remember to clear your paper idea or project idea through me as you finish and finalize what you want to do. That will give you some. Just make sure you have some legs to run on, and if I can, I'll provide some resources. And then the second thing, as always, your quiz is going to be messed up. You're going to see the wrong grade. I'll have Andy manually regrade those. It's just a glitch we cannot fix this quarter, so we'll try to learn from it and fix next quarter as we do these online classes. So all that to say, just don't worry about that. What I'll have Andy do is I'll have him move through all the grades and make sure that they're all correct and up to date, and then have you all check them. And if we need to change some, we'll change some. So yeah, just to make sure that you all have an accurate record of the grades and everything. So we'll do that over the next week or two as we do. The other thing that I want to do is I want to recommend a couple of practical examples or practical resources for peacemaking. And really they're resources in communication. And what they do is give you some very practical tools and tips on how to negotiate, how to enter into conversations, especially in conflict, in such a way that you work towards mutual agreement, or what some authors call win-win agreements. And you're not using coercion but persuasion to move towards those agreements. And so the first one that I want to recommend is called Getting Together, Building Relationships as We Negotiate. And it's by Roger Fisher and Scott Brown from the Harvard Negotiation Project. In the past, I've had this book as a part of the textbooks that you read, but what I want to do now is just recommend these books. I actually replaced this book with Miroslav Volf's book, Exclusion and Embrace, and think that's a little better resource for the class and the coursework, but I think this is a great resource as you develop practical skills in negotiating. And then the second one that I want to recommend is by Sherrod and Phyllis Miller. It's called Couple Communication, Talking and Listening Together. And this is a very practical, it's designed for marriage relationships, but it's very practical on communication and negotiation. And in both books, what I want to emphasize, and what you hopefully have gotten by now in the very practical steps of peacemaking, is that what you want to do, there's two things that you want to do. The first thing that you want to do is in listening and understanding. And when you listen and understand, the key thing when you're doing that is to be attentive, to not listen so that you could speak or counter argue, but to listen so that you can understand. And I want to make a careful distinction here of understanding, not so that you can mirror back what the person said, but so that you can understand what they said, put it in your own language, and then be able to talk to the person and explain it in such a way that they say, yeah, you understand me, you're able to communicate in my language. And so it means that we become bilingual in this sense of communication, that we're able to communicate in our language and understand things in our language, but then communicate back in another language, in the other person. And all communication is cross-cultural because we all have our different backgrounds, our different heritages, and our different frameworks that we come to communication with. And so that's the key thing when we're listening, is to listen for understanding, which often requires us to ask someone to tell us more about something. As they're communicating a frustration, as they're communicating a difficulty or a disagreement, it's easy just to jump to conclusions and try to solve the problem. But what we want to do is understand it at the basic conviction level, and that usually requires longer listening periods. So when you're tempted to just jump in, what you should do is ask them for more. Can you tell me more? And sometimes it's just that simple. And this is true in discipleship too. It's a very practical skill when you're discipling people or mentoring people, is just to ask them to tell you more as they're sharing about their life or a difficult circumstance. This will often reveal layers of difficulty that you might not have gotten to if you just jumped right in. So that's the first one on listening. The second one on communication, which I'm going to take from the Miller's book, Talking and Listening Together. And they have actual maps that you can get on for communication and for listening. But the thing about the listening, or communication, they have a thing called the communication wheel. And in it, they have several different types of communication or things that you're communicating about. And so I want to highlight some of those because they've been very helpful in my personal relationships, but also very helpful in any public setting when I'm been asked to do comments or presentations on controversial ethical issues. And these areas of communication are really important to distinguish from one another. And as you get better at distinguishing them, the communication from them flows a little more naturally. At first, it's a little abrupt because you're trying to figure out what categories you're communicating in. And so let me just outline a few of them and share a little bit of how they've impacted me. The first one is facts. And facts are just what you hear, see, taste, smell, all those kinds of things that you can do with your senses through observation. Those are the facts. So I heard you say that you were mad at me. That's a fact. And so when we're communicating, we want to make sure that our facts are correct. Sometimes we need to ask for clarification. Sometimes we say, this is what I heard. Is this correct, what you're saying? So that's the first category, is facts. The second category is thoughts. And so our thoughts are what we think about those facts. So I heard you say that you were mad or frustrated with me. That makes me think that I did something wrong. And that's a thought. Or another thought may be, that makes me think that I'm a bad person and you don't like me. That's another thought that you can take. And people can take, depending on their background and how they've grown up, they can take facts and they can have different kinds of thoughts about them. So in other words, if someone says, I'm mad at you, I can think, I must have done something wrong, or you must have misunderstood me. Those are two thoughts that you can have with the same facts. And so we communicate about the facts, and then secondly, we communicate our thoughts about the facts. The third thing that we communicate is our feelings. I'm mad at you. That makes me sad. That's a feeling. And this is a very difficult one in our culture, especially Western culture right now, because a lot of times we communicate our thoughts, but we say feelings. In other words, I feel like you misunderstood me. So that's not a feeling, that's a thought. I feel sad or I feel frustrated that you misunderstood me. That's a feeling combined with a thought. And so, or I feel angry, I feel hurt, I feel happy. All those are feelings, and you can download a feeling chart if you Google feeling charts with happy faces and all kinds of different faces on them to help you identify your feelings. But it's really important to distinguish your thoughts from your feelings, because what people often do is they use feelings. I feel like you, and then what that does is that trumps the conversation, because it's very hard to argue with feelings. So that's the third category. in all of this, an overarching principle is always speak for yourself. So I heard you say that you were mad, instead of you're mad at me. Um, those are two things that come straight from the facts, but it's a way to personalize it or to put it on the other person. And so we always speak for ourselves when we're speaking. So we have facts, we have thoughts, we have feelings, and we have wants. And what we want to communicate what we want. Um, and oftentimes, if you can get to this stage of what you want, there's a lot of agreements on our wants. Or there's compromise, easy compromise. If you get to the facts, if you feel understood, you see what a person wants, and you're able to meet those wants as long as they're within a reasonable range of being able to meet them and wanting to meet them, then we can move towards one another. Oftentimes, it's very difficult for people, especially from different cultural settings, to communicate what they want. Sometimes in different cultures, that comes indirectly. I'm a great indirect communicator. I have a really difficult time saying exactly what I want, but I'll hint at it around and hope that a person will pick it up. And so what we want to communicate is we want to communicate our wants, and we move towards our wants. And as each person communicates, each person listens, each person understands, each person has a chance to communicate, and then each person has a chance to tell people what they want. And then we can begin to move towards those wants and figure out creative alternatives. And this is where Walter Wink comes in, third way alternatives to get to our wants. And so, that's a quick little lecture, but it's been really helpful to me, especially in personal relationships, but also in larger scale conflicts where I'm asked to step into a situation and either do a presentation or do some kind of mediation. These principles have been very beneficial to me. And so again, it's Getting Together by Roger Fisher and Scott Brown, and then also the Couple Communication, which comes with a class and some training, and you can get actually certified as a communication instructor if you'd like to do that. But it's been just really beneficial both for this class and for my personal relationships. So there are a couple resources for you. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I'm trying to post Charlotte's lecture sometime this weekend if she can finish it before Monday, so that you guys have a chance to look at it, and then you'll jump into the forum Monday right away, because you won't have reading for next week. And so you'll jump into the forum right away. That will be your forum for the week, and then we'll move towards writing your final paper. Again, thanks for a great class so far. Look forward to this upcoming week, and then look forward to reading your final papers. Have a great weekend.